Well, we are now into the final few hours of this little mini transfer window, which shuts at 7 o'clock this evening. Are Newcastle United going to make any signings before then? Probably not. However, it really doesn't matter about the deadline at 7 o'clock, which we'll go into a bit later on in the video. Newcastle United, though, look like they've finally made a move to bring James Trafford to St James's Park. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is still on the radar. I know, I'm sorry guys for bringing that name up, but unfortunately, Eddie Howe is a very big fan and probably sees him coming in for free as a real good option up front as a second or third striker. Now, two names have also been mentioned this morning as replacements for Paul Mitchell, who of course leaves the club at the end of the month, and Lloyd Kelly, our former centre-back, who Juventus paid 20 million quid for. Looks like he could be up for sale again this summer after a disastrous time playing for Juventus. Let's have a look at it all. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Toon Review. My name's Paul. This is your latest Newcastle United news. We will start off with the story breaking this morning that it looks like Newcastle United have now formally made a move to bring James Trafford to St James's Park. This move has been on the cards for a long time, simply ages. You know, apparently we've agreed terms with them last season or a year ago, so there's not much to do between talks between player and club. Those apparent personal terms are going to stay in place. James Trafford is happy with them. Newcastle are happy with them. However, it just seems like now the two clubs need to agree a fee, which looks like it's going to be in the region of around 30 million quid. Now, a lot of people have said, will he come in as number one? Will he come in as number two? I think it's as number one. And the reason for that is 30 million quid is a lot of money in the goalkeeping market to pay for a keeper that's going to sit on the bench as a number two. Now, I know a lot of people will direct me to Vlachodimos and how much we paid for him. That was never, ever a signing who was going to be competition for Pope or Dubravka. It was never happening, simply because it was PSR restrictions, PSR deadline coming up that we had to make those deals. And it involved, obviously, a deal with Elliot Anderson as well, Minte going to Brighton, etc. We had to get our house in order, and bringing Vlachodimos to the club was all part of that. I don't think Eddie Howe ever saw Vlachodimos as a signing that he was going to really challenge to be number one goalkeeper. Now, obviously, Vlachodimos is a talented keeper, no doubt about that, but he's not in the reckoning for Eddie Howe. However, James Pope is obviously a goalkeeper that Eddie Howe has had an eye on for a long time now, and he had a fantastic season last year. I know there's a few doubts among the Newcastle fans regarding James Trafford, but I don't really understand that. He had a brilliant season last year. The season before, a little bit of a difficult start when Vincent Kompany was manager, but he had a bit of time out. He came back and was brilliant. And last season, superb. Burnley's defence was superb last season anyway. But along with Trafford, who obviously relies on his defenders in front of him, and the team defending on a whole, fair enough. But he was outstanding. I saw a number of games for Burnley last season in which he pulled off some remarkable saves, commands his penalty area really well, distributes the ball really well. Just what we're looking for. And I genuinely think that James Trafford will be coming in as number one and Pope will slip back to number two. Now, people will say, absolutely rightly so as well, that maybe in pre-season it's a battle to see which one Eddie Howe fancies as number one goalkeeper. But I think Leeds United are paying very close attention to this situation, because if we do sign James Trafford, then expect a bid from Leeds United for Nick Pope, because they are really interested in Pope. They see him and his experience as perfect to move into the Premier League after promotion last season. So that may still well happen. So we won't be having the conversation about James Trafford or Nick Pope for number one. It just won't need to be discussed at all. As for Dubravka, he will probably sit as number two. And then we know the rest of them. Vlachodimos, I think, will go out on loan somewhere this season. I don't think anybody can afford to buy him, to be honest, so I think he'll go on loan. But I'm excited about the Trafford deal, guys. I have to say, this goalkeeper's coming in and could be our number one for years to come. He could be, obviously, a future England goalkeeper for years to come as well. And I think James Trafford probably has been told that the likelihood is he's going to be number one if you're coming for that kind of money when you're talking about a goalkeeper. And Nick Pope, he's done very well. Let's not forget he was brilliant at the back end of last season. after coming back from injury. Dubravka was also outstanding. So we do have very competent goalkeepers at the club, but they both do have faults. And I think James Trafford, who, like I say, he distributes the ball well, in my opinion. He commands his box well, and he's a fantastic shot stopper. Combine all that, and we've got a fantastic goalkeeper at the club. No doubt in my mind about that. So I can see this happening. But the reason I said about the transfer window there in the intro, I mean, isn't it ludicrous? You've got it closing at 7 o'clock, and then it's announced that teams can still negotiate with players and sign players during this 6-day gap. They just can't register them. So we could actually go and, talk to James Trafford over the next few days, announce him as a Newcastle United player during this break in the transfer window, but they can't formally register him until the 16th when it reopens. Why not just keep it open? I know there's all this World Club Cup malarkey and all this money spinning tournament, and that's why it's closing. But I don't understand it. Just leave it open. Let clubs do the business. It doesn't seem logical to me to shut it for 6 days, but then turn around to all the clubs and say, by the way, you can still put in transfer offers and discuss transfer moves with players. You just can't register them till the window opens again. It's pointless even closing the window at 7 o'clock tonight. There's no need, because technically the window isn't closed. It is still open. Not like normal, when the window closes, you cannot then go and offer money for a player. You can't negotiate with a player. You can only do that if his contract's running out. Like at January, January ends, he's got 6 months left on his contract, you can go and negotiate. But this, you can go and do all your transfer business as normal and then just register them when it opens again on the 16th. It is bizarre. I don't understand it. I think it's crazy. But then again, the powers that be that run football these days are absolute nutcases. I genuinely believe that they just look at things and go, yeah, that's a really good option. Let's go ahead and do that. And it's absolutely bonkers when you look at it as a fan's point of view. But I would expect the James Trafford deal to happen, guys. But let me know, are you happy with James Trafford? Or is there still a few of you out there maybe doubting the move, especially for 30 million quid? Now, I'm sorry to bring this up, guys, but I have to because it's out there this morning that Newcastle United are keeping a very close eye on the situation with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We know that Everton have announced that he's leaving the club in the summer. Eddie Howe is a massive fan of Calvert-Lewin and has been for quite some time. Calvert-Lewin has been linked to this club for years now. Really, 2 or 3 seasons now since the takeover. He's always been there at the top of the list of players that Eddie Howe is interested in, whether it be a transfer fee or now a free transfer. Now, we have to look at this logically as Newcastle United fans, of course, because he would be coming in on a free transfer. We're not really taking a big risk on the player because we're not paying a fee for him. Yes, he would command a signing-on fee, which would be larger, but that really doesn't affect things when you talk about a transfer fee. He'd be coming in for nothing. We're not taking a risk. And he would probably, second or third choice striker, depending if we bring another one in the transfer window. But I think Eddie Howe wants him at Newcastle. He likes what he sees with Calvert-Lewin. I mean, does Calvert-Lewin offer more than Callum Wilson does right now? I would say yes. I know Calvert-Lewin's got a horrendous injury record, just like Callum. But if you're bringing him in on a free transfer and the risk factor is low like that, we're not losing out on anything, providing we do bring somebody else in. I think we still need another striker. I'm not saying bring Calvert-Lewin in as the only striker we get in the summer. And I don't think Eddie would do that. But Calvert-Lewin is a very physical forward. He still scores goals. And listen, he offers more than what Wilson does. No doubt in my mind. If we then... I will have a problem if we sign Calvert-Lewin and then give Wilson an extended contract. I will be quite annoyed with that because I'm thinking, Christ, we've got 2 players who have had horrendous injury records, and then Isak, who, will get injured at some point as well. So it wouldn't make any logical sense to me. It would be either Callum Wilson or Calvert-Lewin. And I'd prefer Calvert-Lewin. If we're going to sign somebody for Nout, get Calvert-Lewin in. He's not the answer, by the way, and I'm not sitting here saying, he's fantastic. He's the answer we need at all. But go and get him if he's going to be second or third choice striker, because a free transfer, it's no risk. He can come on in games and maybe mix it up a little bit more than what we've seen from Callum Wilson. But I know a lot of you aren't really chuffed about Calvert-Lewin and anything like that. But look, This is Eddie Howe we're talking about. He's a big fan. If he thinks he can get something from Calvert-Lewin, then fair enough. But on the flip side, he also maybe thinks he can get something out of Callum Wilson, which we all disagree with. So where do you leave it? But keep an eye on that one as well, folks. Now, 2 names have been included in the media this morning as possible replacements for the outgoing Paul Mitchell. 2 names, and they are Ross Wilson, who is currently the Forest chief, and the former assistant sporting director of Arsenal, Jason Ato, or Ito, however you want to pronounce that. Now, Newcastle United have taken on recruitment company, the Nolan Partners, to look for a replacement for Mitchell. And apparently their rhetoric is that they must have Premier League experience. That is one thing that they want from the sporting director, to come in and immediately be aligned with the Premier League. So it kind of rules out any major overseas signings, like the Maldinis, etc. of the world that were mentioned before Mitchell came in, of course. So that could be very different. Look, Premier League experience for me is top notch. I think Newcastle are right to probably get a guy in who's got Premier League experience, but they also have to have a good contact record across the globe. Let's be honest here. Mitchell's CV was outstanding. Lots of great contacts. We haven't really seen it, but he does. And the next guy to come in, if we're looking at the former sporting director at Arsenal, Jason Ito, he will have some fantastic contacts. He worked under Edu at Arsenal, he will have seen how Edu did his business, etc., gained contacts from them. The Forest chief, Ross Wilson's done a fabulous job as well. If you look at the players that Forest have recruited and the season they had, these are 2 very, very big names and very big possibilities to come in and replace Mitchell and do a good job. But you know what? We'll leave the Nolan Partners to find out, and interview these guys, and then we'll see what progresses down the line. I don't think Newcastle United are urgently seeking a replacement for Mitchell yet. Of course, he's at the club till the end of June. But they may want to have somebody in place for when he leaves, so we can immediately get into negotiations with players and things like that once Mitchell leaves. But who knows, guys? It's all up in the air, but they are 2 very capable names of taking over from Paul Mitchell. Now, finally, Lloyd Kelly. And I don't know whether I feel sorry for him or what at the minute, but it looks like Juventus may be putting him up on the transfer list this summer. And yes, he has just signed for them for 20 million quid, which is one bit of business that I have to praise Paul Mitchell for. I think it's a superb bit of business to get 20 million for a player that we never paid for in the first place, who came in on a free. Now, he was once... after a few appearances for Juventus, he was described as the worst signing in the club's history by Juventus media. That is a damning, scalding approach to a player. And that would have done Lloyd Kelly's confidence no good at all. But it seems like he may well be available again this summer. And to be honest, he did improve with Juventus. He did get better. If you look at his match ratings from, the last few games that he played, they're not bad. It's not like he was totally trash. But, once I think the Italian media turn on you, then you've got a serious problem over there. You're pretty much done. But let's just see what happens with Lloyd Kelly. Some Newcastle fans were saying bring him back for squad size. No thanks. I think, once Lloyd Kelly was out the door, there was a reason for that, why we let him go. Some Newcastle United fans weren't really happy with him the first time around anyway. But I do hope he finds a club and he settles and gets back to his best, because Bournemouth fans think he's a real talent. We didn't see that. Juventus certainly haven't seen that. But hopefully, wherever he moves to, we will see that. But good luck to Lloyd Kelly. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Please do give it a like if you have enjoyed the video. And of course, if you're new, please do subscribe free of charge. We're banging on the way to 40,000 now. So if you're not already done so, hit that subscribe button. But make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload like this one or any of our live shows. Check out the website, thetoonreview.com. That is for all your channel merchandise. Get yourself something nice, or the family or a friend, and support the channel that way. So let me know in the comments below what you think of all the news today, as per usual, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.